Would ask everyone to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Dr. Andrew Lee Stevens, Jr. of the Village Church. He is the guest of Councilman Peter Westerholm.
Let's pray. God in heaven, it is our privilege to invite you here as a guest of honor as we gather for this meeting of the Metro City Council. It is our request that you would bless this assembly, but more than that, we desire that you would be here with us this evening, guiding our work as we act on behalf of the citizens we have been elected to represent. Among other things, O God, we have all been created in your image. Empower us to imitate you and seek your will as we execute our responsibility to govern. Thank you for the precious gifts of knowledge and understanding. I ask on behalf of those gathered here that you would indeed bless each of our leaders whom you have called to serve this community. Give them the grace to make a difference for the good as they seek to establish justice and righteousness in our community. And now, may you be pleased with what is done here this evening. Thank you for your presence. It is in the name that is above every other name that we pray. And we love you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the adoption of our minutes of our February 21st? With no objection, the minutes stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. We're now at the point of elections and confirmations. Councilmember Stein.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The committee recommends the first-time appointment of Ms. Ruby Baker to the Emergency Communications District Board by a vote of 10-4, none against, and I move her approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The reappointment of Mr. James Buford Toon will be deferred until March 20th. The committee has recommended the reappointment of Mr. Wayne Tucker to the Emergency Communications District Board by a vote of 10-4, none against, and I move his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The reappointment of Mr. James Armstrong to the Fire and Building Codes Appeal Board has been withdrawn by the mayor. The appointment of Mr. Bill Wamsley to the Fire and Building Codes Appeals Board is recommended by the committee by a vote of 10-4, none against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The first-time appointment of Dr. Harry Jacobson to the Hospital Authority is recommended by the committee by a vote of 10-4, none against, and I move his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The appointment of Ms. Alistair Newbern to the Human Relations Commission has been deferred to March 20th. The committee does recommend the first-time appointment of Mr. Avi Poster to the Human Relations Commission by a vote of 10-4, none against, and I move his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The appointment of Ms. Lori Hughes to the Nashville Education, Community, and Arts Television Corporation has been withdrawn by the mayor. And the committee finally recommends the first-time appointment of Mr. Emmett Wynn to the Sports Authority by a vote of 10-4, none against, and I move his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Ruby Baker, Wayne Tucker, Bill Wamsley, Dr. Harry Jacobson, Avi Poster, and Emmett Wynn. On behalf of the Metropolitan Council, I'd like to thank you for volunteering your time and your expertise for our great city. Thank you. We're now at bills on public hearing. The first one is BL 2011-71, changes .75 acres from CS to SP zoning for property located at 5909 Charlotte Pike to permit auto sales used, and all uses permitted by the CS district. Councilmember Baker.
Open public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-88 defines conditions for hardships for preservation permits reviewed by the Metropolitan Government's Historic Zoning Commission. Councilmember Claiborne.
Open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Claiborne.
Recommend approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-92 amends the Metro Code relative to the period of inactivity for non-conforming uses and for non-conforming structures damaged after a disaster. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Dominy.
I move approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman?
This bill is designed to try to give some options for residents across the county who have non-conforming uses that may have had property damaged in the flood. Under the current zoning codes, there is no option for them to restore that use if they haven't done so by the 2-year anniversary of that flood. This is to align the regulations with the state law currently and to allow a tolling provision. We can discuss this more in committees, but I ask for your vote. Thanks.
Councilman Holloman, do you want to be recognized on this?
I do. I just wanted to say that I've talked to Councilman Dominy about this. I do have some concerns about the scope of the bill as currently written, but I did want to let some of my constituents know that have contacted me that I've talked to Councilman Dominy about that, and we're going to work on a potential amendment for third.
Yes.
And after tonight, it will be referred to our council committee, Planning and Zoning, for consideration. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-96 changes .19 acres from OR 20 to MUL district for property located at 105 Dooling Avenue. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for open public hearing.
Thank you. Raise your hand if you're in support, please. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Pridemore.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we can take BL 2012-97 and 98 together. Seeing none, BL 2012-97 cancels 25 acres of the Red Cap Industrial Plan Unit Development Overlay District located at 554 Hickory Hills Boulevard, zoned OR 20 and proposed for SP. BL 2012-98 changes 25 acres from OR 20 to SP zoning for property located at 554 Hickory Hills Boulevard to permit an expansion to an existing building permitting distributive business, warehouse, and light manufacturing uses. Councilmember Hunt.
Madam President, open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hunt.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-99 amends .44 acres of the SP district for the previously approved H&M Motor Specific Plan District located at 1525 4th Avenue South to permit auto sales new, auto sales used, auto service, and all uses permitted by MULA zoning, and to remove the condition of a sidewalk along Mallory Street. Councilmember Moore.
I move for the public hearing to open, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Would anyone in support wish to speak? Please come to the lectern. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Tony Sarmati. I'm the property owner of 1525 4th Avenue South. Basically, I'm here to remove the condition for the sidewalk because there was no room, no space to construct a sidewalk on Mallory Street. And after several meetings we had with Planning Department, we found out that there was a memo last year in September that basically outlines this new law that basically makes it easier for business owners to start a business on a lower cost. And the other condition to add MUL was previously back in 2006 when we rezoned the property to SP, we requested to add the CS to the SP, and for some reason, an error occurred and left it out. And that's what we're trying to correct. Thank you.
Anyone else in support wishing to speak? Anyone in opposition who wishes to speak, please come to the lectern.
Hi, my name is Aretha Johnson, and I live at 412 Mallory Street. And the reason why I'm against it is because I have no driveway, and the street is the only place there that I have to park. If you put the sidewalk there, I will not have a place to park my car. I could park there, but I would be like way out in the middle of the street. No one could get past me. So that's why I'm against it.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, this MMA thing isn't quite working out. My name is Jordan Hayslip, and I'm the vice president of Nolensville Road Auto Mart on Nolensville Road. Been there for 50 years now. My grandfather started it. I guess 2 or 3 years ago, we had to go through the whole SP process. It took thousands of dollars and thousands of hours just to be in compliance. One of the main issues was the sidewalk that our SP ordinance required. We had to go through tons of meetings, loopholes, and it would have run the length of our entire property, probably about 100, 150 feet. But anyways, our sidewalk would not have gone to any kind of residential area. It wouldn't have passed any retail area, nothing like that, no schools. Our sidewalk would have gone directly back to an industrial area with nothing but steel buildings. The only foot traffic really would have been vagrants and those sort of types. Now, I don't know the owner of the H&M Motors, and I have nothing against the owner, but I think fair is fair, and I think you got to follow the rules. What we had to do is, if we didn't want a sidewalk, we had to pay $10,000, and for a small business, that's a lot of money. You know, it's just to throw around. So I think to follow the rules, it would be good if these sidewalks are required, especially since his property does back up to a residential area. There's a lot of houses You can see toys in the yard. There's probably children around, and I just think it would make sense, and it would just be fair for them to have to follow the rules and either maybe put up the same amount we did or build the sidewalks. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Moore.
Vice Mayor, I'm going to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Moore.
Attorney Cooper, I had no knowledge of this policy that was changed. I don't know whether it was 2 years ago or a year ago by one of our former colleagues. Could you please explain that policy that was made about a year ago that I didn't know anything about as well? It was about the sidewalks.
I'm not aware of the policy. It was probably through the planning department, so someone here may be able to reference that.
Well, could the planning department please answer my request?
This is a planning commission policy, and what this applies to is when an SP is created and the proposal is to reuse the existing building, if they were just a regular zoning and were reusing the building, they wouldn't have to do sidewalks. And so if the SP proposes only to reuse the building, then they don't have to do the sidewalks at that time. If there's redevelopment of the site, then the code requirements for sidewalks would kick in.
Okay. And when did this, I forgot, when did it take place, the policy change?
I believe it was about 2 years ago.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. With that, I renew my motion for approval.
Thank you. Councilmember Tenpenny.
Yes, I'm aware of both of these properties and what's going on there at 4th Avenue, and it's coming on out Nolensville Road. And I've got a question. If we take this in precedence and we let this happen with this SP, does this open it up on down for Nolensville Road and any other car lots or anything that opens like that? Are we just going to say that, hey, no sidewalks are needed for your SP either?
I just want to add that this is going to be referred to our Planning and Zoning Committee where we'll have all these questions
I understand,
answered.
Vice Mayor, but I do want that
Just so you know
addressed.
that.
I definitely want it addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Someone from planning wish to address that?
The issue with the sidewalks would apply as a staff recommendation to the commission in a similar circumstance. As you well know, an SP is developed with the neighborhood and the council member and following that, whether or not a sidewalk is needed. In this particular case, the reason that they couldn't put the sidewalk in, the original plan called for a sidewalk and a fence, and they put the fence in before they had room to put the sidewalk in, but after they put the fence in, then they claimed the hardship. The staff didn't concur with the sidewalk being removed. We did concur with the fact that the CS uses should have been in the original bill.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no.
No.
I think we're going to need a machine vote on this.
No, I was aware of the change, but I wasn't aware about the sidewalk. So they reduced the sidewalk. God introduced it.
Has everyone voted? Madam Clerk, please close the machines.
27 aye, 8 no, 2 abstentions.
Motion passes. Without objection, we'll take BL 2012-100 and BL 2012-101 together. BL 2012-100 changes 4.9 acres from AR2A district to RS10 district for a portion of property located at 1176 Stones River Road. BL 2012-101 amends the Ravenwood Residential Plan Unit Development Overlay District located on the north side of Stones River Road and northwest of Lebanon Pike, zoned RM6 and RS10, and adds approximately 4.9 acres zoned AR2A and proposed for RS10, and changes the layout of a portion of the overlay to permit a total of 337 residential units. Councilmember Stanley.
Proceed with public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Stanley.
Move approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-102 changes .37 acres from CS to SP zoning for property located at 2712 Clarksville Pike to permit vehicular rental, leasing, and all other uses permitted by the CS district. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. I move for passage.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-103 changes 40.1 acres from RM6 to SP zoning for property located at Franklin Limestone Road, unnumbered, for an asphalt plant and associated uses, including temporary mineral extraction, allowing blasting and crushing of stone for sale transfer from the site during site preparation for the asphalt plant. Councilmember Dominy.
Move to open public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Those in support who wish to speak, please line up at the lectern.
Neighbors, members of the council, my name is Tom White. I represent the applicant in this matter. I want to initially thank Councilman Dominy for the time which he's given. We've had a significant number of neighborhood meetings, and at least 2 of those meetings, my client did a presentation. With respect to other meetings, the councilman has met with his neighborhood groups by himself without the invitation to my clients, and he'll give you that report when it comes his time to make comments. Of the neighborhood meetings which we've had, they all basically took place in the neighborhood where generally you get a better turnout than you do here. With respect to the zoning, this is a zoning that goes from RM6 to SP for the uses as described by the Vice Mayor. The policy change and the zone change were approved. The zone change was approved unanimously, 9-0 at the Planning Commission. The planning department's here. They can answer for their reasons, but the area, as you see on the maps and we've discussed with you, has significant industrial activity and heavy commercial now. There's a quarry in the area. There are currently 2 asphalt plants in the area, and my client operates one of those asphalt plants. They're going to shut the asphalt plant they operate now when this new plant comes online. With respect to conditions, I want to make it clear my client agreed to every condition that was proposed by all the different metro departments, including items such as an environmental impact study. But again, I don't know of one item that was requested by the different metro departments that was not agreed to. Again, it was unanimously approved 9-0 at the Planning Commission. The current property, as I said, is zoned RM6. That allows apartments. The councilman from the outset told us there were 2 matters that were really a real issue in his district. One was people didn't want any more apartments. The other was traffic. So a lot of the dialogue at the meetings came down to juxtaposing, if you will, those 2 uses and how they affected it. Here's what they showed from the metro numbers. First, the 240 apartment units on the site would generate 1,598 or almost 1,600 vehicle movements a day. The asphalt plant generates 90 movements a day, about 6%. Secondly, all the vehicles coming out of the asphalt plant are mandatorily directed back to the left, which is to Harding and to the interstate. None of them, 70 of which are trucks, can go through the neighborhood. That's been requested. We've agreed to it. It'll be posted in that manner. With respect to buffer zones, the current zoning allows only a 50-foot buffer for apartments. My client agreed to 150 feet of a buffer, or 3 times what is required. Schools. There's absolutely no demand on the school system with my client's proposal. Obviously, there's a huge demand with respect to the apartments that are there. I'd ask the council to consider this favorably, move it forward tonight. My client has agreed to continue to meet with the neighbors and the council person as we do move forward. But again, it's a use that is an appropriate and industrial area. That's why they approved it. Thank you for your courtesies.
Madam Chairman, Roger Catanzano, 4624 Billingsgate Road. I'm for it. The reason I'm for it is, number one, is because I've seen what, I've been to all the meetings, and these fellows have bent over backwards to do more than their fair share. Number one is that the pollution in the air with the new plant will go down 25%, not go up 50% like others are saying. Number two, it's a movement of 0.8 of a mile, not 3 miles like others are trying to say. Number three, you've got 2 plants, you're going to end up with 2 plants. The property value isn't going to change any at all. And that's all I have to say about it, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name is Curtis Winkowski. I live at 437 Franklin Limestone Road. I'm for it for the main reason is apartment complexes would increase the traffic significantly on Franklin Limestone Road, which is already considered by some as a dangerous road. If this plant goes in, they promise to give us a public use area and a greenway, and also that the traffic will be diverted towards Harding Place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tom Clemens, 612 West Main Street, Lebanon, Tennessee. I'm the civil engineer for the project, and just wanted to reiterate that going through the Planning Commission process that we have complied and agree with all the planning staff comments. We've even gone far and away and above in extensive buffering along the abutting residential tracts. We're increasing the buffering along those property lines by a factor of 3. The previous gentleman did make a correct statement in that the new plant will be a state-of-the-art plant. It will significantly reduce the allowable emissions. And one of the other points is that the buffering along Mill Creek will be maintained, even increased, in addition to what the existing plant currently borders Mill Creek. So we're going to be even further away from Mill Creek than the current plant that has been operational for 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in support wishing to speak, those in opposition who would like to speak, please line up at the lectern. State your name and address, please.
My name is Travis Danker. I reside at 849 Bishopsgate Road in Antioch. The proposed site for the asphalt plant requesting the zoning changes in close proximity to single-family neighborhoods, as attested to in the staff reports issued by the Planning Commission, which could be detrimental to already severely challenged property values. The inability for homeowners to sell their home could create additional foreclosures, bankruptcies, and lead to more vacant homes within the area due to the close proximity of the proposed asphalt plant. Metro Planning Commission reports, staff reports noted the availability of approximately 130 acres of land currently zoned industrial, which could be used for the asphalt plant, not requiring an SP zoning plan. While the SP zoning plan is being considered, it does require the closure of an existing plant that has been in operation for decades to be replaced with a more environmentally friendly plant. The relocation of this plant to the proposed site will increase emissions of toxins in the immediate area of several residential neighborhoods. I understand the overall emission from the asphalt plants will be reduced within the district, District 28. However, the emissions will be more concentrated in this location and in close proximity to single-family neighborhoods. This parcel of land being impacted by this proposed change has many environmental features that make it inadequate for this type of change. The property has several steep slopes, natural steep slopes, and problem soils which could be impacted by the construction of an asphalt plant upon the parcel. The property is located adjacent to a floodway, which, as many of us recall, flooded during the historic May 2010 floods. In addition to these environmentally sensitive features, there is also the possibility to create a negative impact on the endangered native species found only in Mill Creek and its tributaries. The parcel affected by the proposed zoning change is located adjacent to an existing heavy industrial area, as mentioned before, which already sees large amounts of industrial traffic. Anyone that's driven Franklin Limestone Road can attest to its persistent state of disrepair caused by the current amount of heavy industrial traffic. If this asphalt plant is permitted to be built on the proposed site, it would only add to the amount of heavy industrial traffic and damage, regardless of the number of trips. At present, the asphalt plant planning to be built on the proposed site receives all of its gravel and other minerals used in the creation of asphalt from the quarry located across the street from Franklin Limestone Road. The zoning proposal being debated requires additional lanes of traffic to be constructed. However, there is no plan to transfer materials from the quarry down Franklin Limestone Road and across so as not to impede the flow of traffic on this street that already sees frequent use. This would pose a danger to an existing stretch of road that sees more than its fair share of traffic accidents by permitting heavily loaded trucks to cross at a slow rate of speed and the potential to increase traffic accidents or further clog the street with industrial traffic. I can see no cost-effective amicable resolution to all these issues created by the proposed zoning change. Therefore, I recommend all councilmen to vote no regarding BL 2012-103. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Heather Wilder. I'm a homeowner at 140 Pepper Ridge Circle, which is a half mile from the current asphalt plant. There's many downsides to having an additional asphalt plant close to my home. The proposed area is even closer to my home than the existing one. As is already mentioned, we have the issue of our property values decreasing. They mentioned, it's zoned for residential, so there would be more traffic with a residential place than an industrial place, but it's not only the type of traffic, but it's the volume. It's not only the volume, but it's the type, because 100 small cars wouldn't make up what one of those big trucks does. The smell, the dust, what it does to the roads. I've lived there 2 years and we've had it repaved twice. And there's so many bad things that can happen to my property because of this going in there. The traffic is a bad thing. We have a rock quarry already. We have the existing asphalt plant, and this would make it closer to my house. And we have the airport. When I bought my house, I asked my realtor, there's a huge patch of woods there. Am I going to have to worry? We already have these 3 big industrial places. Is this going to add another one? And she checked and said, no, that's zoned for residential. So that was one of the things that I thought about when I bought my house, and this changes that for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Sweeney. I'm a resident at 210 Pepper Ridge Circle. I'm the vice president of the Homeowners Association there at Pepper Ridge. We have numerous elderly in our community. Matter of fact, probably 75% of the residents at Pepper Ridge are elderly, and most of them have breathing problems. We don't need something like this close to our homes. We have the airport. We have a solid waste transfer plant that is right up at Franklin Limestone and Antioch Pike. On a good day when the wind's blowing, yeah, you get a good whiff of that place. And we don't need any more smells coming our way. And we would appreciate it if you would really vote this down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Billy Shelton, and I live on Forges Drive. As a matter of fact, Vulcan Materials, the rock quarry, is my next door neighbor. We're just a working class neighborhood, but we're not trying to stop a racetrack that was there when we moved in. We're not trying to shut down a mall that traffic bothers us. We're just trying to keep something else from coming in. We have 2 asphalt plants, a dump, an airport, and a rock quarry. That's enough. Let's put this one somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Cooper.
I live at 1042 Barnes Road in Antioch. I'm the community manager of Country Meadows Mobile Home Community located immediately south of the proposed asphalt plant. Our property houses over 550 residents in 230 occupied homes. Our community strives to create and maintain an environment where not only we provide affordable housing to our residents, but we also provide a safe and peaceful environment for the families to enjoy. Our success as a community is directly related to the satisfaction of our residents. Like many of our neighbors, we are deeply concerned with how the proposed asphalt plant will affect the quality and life of our residents, specifically regarding to the air quality and prolonged noise disturbances. As I previously stated, our property borders the proposed plant site. The property line is only 500 feet from where the actual plant building will be. The main concern we have for our residents is the potential emission of toxic substances in the air. We have every indication that the proposed plant will be state-of-the-art and adhere to local and federal laws, but the emissions from the asphalt itself is what we're most alarmed about. According to research that was published by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, people with regular exposure to asphalt have reported breathing problems, asthma, bronchitis, and skin irritation. The same study also reports lung, stomach, and skin cancers following chronic exposures to asphalt fumes. Though the study I mentioned pertains mostly to asphalt workers, our residents will be close enough to the plant where the potential effects of regular exposure are very alarming. Although the residents are at greater distances than workers, the sheer volume of asphalt being created, loaded, and transport could potentially pose a risk. We also have concerns over the potential for strong odors that may linger in the area for prolonged periods of time. Even if the emissions from the plant were deemed safe by the appropriate public regulatory agencies, any odor emitted, whether produced from the asphalt itself or from the manufacturing process, would have dire consequences for long-term sustainability of our mobile home community. Residents would move out at alarming rates, and there would be very limited opportunities to bring new families to our property. With quality, affordable housing in short supply, this would be a devastating blow for the area. The other concern we have is the amount of noise disturbance that will be created by the development of the property in the actual plant. The submitted plans call for blasting and crushing of stone. Even with the proposed buffer zones, this is bound to be a long-term nuisance that our residents will simply not tolerate. In conclusion, there is no doubt that a new asphalt plant will have an immensely positive economic effect on our community.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tana Miller. I've lived at 638 Franklin Limestone Road for 21 years, which is equidistant between Murfreesboro Road and Antioch Pike. I have some severe health problems, which include being bipolar and having extreme allergies. And I just want to thank the Commission for passing the laws that you do that allow me to breathe air as clean as it is. 2 years ago, I was at a traffic light and breathed some car exhaust that was particularly nasty. Within 30 hours, I had pneumonia. Since then, I've had bronchitis 3 times. I've had ear infections that reached my brain and sinuses and have no longer been in church. Mr. Domini's wife is my friend, and he can attest to that. I haven't been in church for 10 months. I'm an interior designer. I worked in Mr. White's beautiful office overlooking the courtyard and his home. He's a fair and honest man, and if he says that it's not likely to be worse, I tend to believe him. But I suggest to you that it's already too bad. When I bought my house, my realtor took me around by Murfreesboro Road so that I wouldn't see the industry. I needed an affordable house with a workspace. I'm not blue collar, I'm an interior designer, but I needed a workspace to house my things. Now I'm a single parent. I am in foreclosure. I've had difficulty working with the challenges of this economy and the banking crisis. There aren't many interior design demands today. I can't afford to move, but if you bring with the existing quarry, I'm in trouble. If we have more industry, I really need to move, and I can't afford to. So I ask you, when you look at all these laws that you pass, every individual, we need to breathe clean air. I've even thought of moving to the country, but the country doesn't have a group like this that will ensure my clean air. So if my neighbor burned metal at his farm, I could die. But here in Davidson County, you have laws to protect me, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taryn Mercer. I have a business and a resident on Franklin Limestone. I've had the business for about 6 years. I've actually seen a lot of traffic come up and down Franklin Limestone Road. I'm against the plant because Franklin Limestone just absolutely cannot handle the extra heavy traffic that's coming through. I heard them say that they did the comparison between the apartment community and zoning apartments versus having a heavy industrial with machines. And as I was driving here today, I was actually behind an actual dump truck. And I said, let me just ride behind this dump truck a little bit longer to see how long it would take to stop. What would you rather pull out in front of? A dump truck? Or would you rather pull out in front of a pedestrian car? Franklin Limestone is elevated going up the hill, going towards Uniantioch. I like to make sure that the facts, I heard the attorney say that, and I've attended all of the meetings. Let me just start by saying in the beginning, we started off with 35 dump trucks coming in to Franklin Limestone. The second meeting, we went from 35 to 75. I heard him say tonight that there was probably 90 movements. The asphalt plant that was there before was on Ezel Road. You have to take an entirely different access to get to the plant. So they're not really right beside each other. They were actually further apart than what it appears. That means that more dump trucks are going to come in. The breathing is going to be more so from the fumes of the dump trucks coming in and out and stopping. And if you ever have gone up Franklin Limestone Road, there's a lot of heavy pedestrian cars that are actually driving through the community. I'm against it because it's dangerous. The road absolutely cannot handle any more traffic that's coming through. And once again, I've seen 3 accidents. I've seen a lot of things happen on Franklin Limestone. So I'm going to ask you to think, what would you do if you were in the position of the residents that are having to travel that road every day with your family? What would you do? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pamela Ward, and I live at 2101 Mullins Circle in Nashville, 37217. This property that I live in has been in my family since it was built in 1985. I want to ask you to vote no for many reasons, of which I'll cover as much as I can in this short period of time. Number one, there is a current request for rehearing before the Metro Planning Commission. I have no earthly idea if they will approve it, but there were some misinformation and misunderstandings about where the asphalt plant that is operating now is going to operating, where it is presently operating. That I'm confusing you, but basically we were all under the impression that it was just across the street. There is an asphalt plant right inside of Vulcan, and we were told that it is basically they're just going to move across the street. It's just a matter of the one plant across the street going to close down and the other one is going to open up if this proposal is approved. And on February the 17th, around the 16th or 17th, we found out that is not the plant that is going to close. The one that's going to close is the one that's presently operating on Ezel Road. It's a little bit further. It's a lot further to our neighborhood. Whether it's 3 miles, half a mile, it is not in our, so to speak, neighborhood. This is our whole issue. So if this is approved, we will have 2 asphalt plants, one directly across the street from each other, one that is going to be moved in right into our back doors. I want to basically talk to you a little bit about the environmental concerns and to tell you why I'm really passionate about this. In the mid 1990s, my health declined, and for 2.5 years, no one knew what was wrong with me. I had severe nausea, severe blood pressure, extreme fatigue, kidney issues, respiratory issues, generalized flu-like symptoms, extreme bone pain. This goes on. I was no longer able to work after a period of time. It was just about the worst time in my whole life. After many, many months of going to doctors, I was finally diagnosed with heavy metal toxicity with extreme levels of cadmium. I was asked at that time, do you live near an asphalt plant? I've lived there for most of my life, since the property's been built, and I can tell you that I was unaware until this issue came about that there was asphalt plants already in our neighborhood. Now, at the time, I want to tell you that I lost almost everything that I had, almost everything. I didn't have a car. I had to undergo 7 months of treatment. If it had not been for my family helping me with the medical bills, I would not have made it. I don't know actually what would have happened to me.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Karen Kelly. I live at 632 Franklin Limestone Road. I used to live at 642 Franklin Limestone Road. I actually moved 3 doors down. I could have moved out, but I stayed because I love all my neighbors. I love where I live. I knew the rock quarry was there. I can put up with the rock quarry. What I can't put up with is another asphalt plant on the other side of the street that's going to cause so many problems for so many of my neighbors. I just want to read you something that comes from the Center for Health and Environmental Injustice. A report was done which provides an analysis of which types of communities and people would be least resistant to a new asphalt plant. First of all, they say southern and Midwest communities. Secondly, people who live beyond the point where they can see or be bothered by the facility. You notice this facility is actually not close enough to houses where we are, where you can see it clearly, where you'll be able to see it clearly, or the people across Mill Creek from it, but they will get the effects whether they can see it or not. Communities where the plant is simply a modification or moving slightly from one part to another. The elderly, those above middle age, I qualify. Republicans, surprisingly. Our council person, by the way, Mr. Dominy, is a Republican. A low income or low middle income. Catholic, who knows, I don't know. I guess because Catholics tend to, for some reason, take what people say. Old-time residents, that also counts. I'm 2 of these things. I've been there over 20 years. So these are things that they look for when they are trying to come in and put in an asphalt plant where they don't think people will stand up. Well, I'm here to tell you we're standing. We're not only standing, we're active. We do not want this asphalt plant. People say it's got to go somewhere. Why not here? Well, as long as we accept the idea that it will go somewhere, it'll go here. So we're not going to do that. In the immortal words of Nancy Reagan, just say no. People, I know, I'm not a Republican, sorry, but that's true. People will say you shouldn't question whether it's fair that your community has to allow this asphalt plant. We have waste management, less than 1,200 feet. We have another asphalt plant from where this one's going to be. We also have the rock quarry. Like I said, I'm not against the rock quarry. I know they have to do their job and it's important, but we just can't take not one more business of this type. And as far as everything else goes, we have a lot of concerns. We've heard people say pollution, not only of Mill Creek, which the Nashville crayfish is one which we're concerned about. While there may be no reports right now from the other plant that there has been pollution, nor have there been any studies done at that plant about pollution that may be occurring. So we don't know. We do know this will be a more highly concentrated collection of particulates than what it is now because, thank you. The lectern right here.
Thank you.
I'll be right by you.
Hello. Where's the light?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Here it is right here.
My name is Patricia Griggs. I live at 557 Piccadilly Row. Franklin Limestone is 2 streets down my backyard. I've lived at my house for 6 years. I have felt blasting in my house, and I didn't even know there was a rock quarry in my neighborhood when I moved in. About a year ago, I developed breathing problems that I'm grateful don't plague me constantly. But I have been to countless doctors in the last year trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And I don't know what it's from still, but the one thing I do know is that I'm not really prepared to live in my house with toxic fumes spilling through my neighborhood, making it worse. And if I can't live there for health reasons, and I know I'm not going to be able to sell it because my property is going to devalue. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. So I really asking all of you to vote no, because this would be detrimental to my personal life, health-wise and financial-wise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Kat Killam. I live at 2104 Mullen Circle. Councilman Dwayne Dominy, in a February 10th letter mailed to certain residents, invited us to a meeting on February 16th at Mount Zion Church. This meeting was to discuss...
You may want to pull the microphone down a little bit.
Okay. Councilman Dominy invited us to a meeting at Mount Zion Church to, quote, discuss the proposed rezoning of property. It was at this meeting that residents were told that the proposed asphalt plant would operate almost directly across the street from another operational asphalt plant. Through the prior 2 or 3 community meetings, residents were not aware of this fact. At the January 16th meeting, when a resident asked if the location of the proposed plant was in fact across Franklin Limestone Road from the one slated to be shut down, Mr. Tom White, counsel for the applicant, quickly exclaimed, "I never said that." What Mr. White did say at the January 26th Planning Commission meeting was, on the other side of Franklin Limestone Road, that's a quote, and across the way from Franklin Limestone Road, also a quote. After Mr. White's protest, Councilman Dominy immediately stated that he himself accepted full blame for any misunderstandings that had arisen from his comments. We feel that the Planning Commission made their decision without the key fact, which is this: if the bill passes, we will have 2 operating asphalt plants, one across Franklin Limestone Road from the other. This is definitely not what the residents want. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Brenda K. Bass, and I live at 2023 Franklin Limestone Court. I've been outside many times and smelt the existing asphalt plant. And I know you guys have smelt roads being paved. Well, this is exactly what it smells like, and that's what we're already breathing. And I'm sure when you add another one into the mix, combined with the combination of the rock quarry, the dust, and another thing that concerns me is the natural gas on Billingsgate. We've already got a lot of blasting. You add more into the mix, I'm really concerned for the houses that are on Billingsgate. Not to mention, there are 3 schools in that area. We have a lot of children and a lot of animals in fenced-in backyards. And my husband and I, we've been there 30 years. Our house is paid for. We can't afford to move somewhere else. And who would want to buy it? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Grace Ann Bendel. I live at 516 Eversholt Court in Highlands, Piccadilly. I'm the president of the Piccadilly Square Homeowners Association. I've lived there for over 20 years. When we bought the house, we didn't know there was a rock quarry. We were not told that. I am also a former realtor, and I was a $1 million producer with Coldwell Banker. And the reason I'm not one is because my daughter developed such bad health conditions. We've had to take her to the doctors for years, 4 days a week for treatments. She has asthma, very bad. She's got a pulmonary problem. She's got skin irritants. We've been 2 days a week. We'd go to Mount Juliet, 2 days to Green Hills. She would like to run. My husband, scholarship, running, academics, he's a runner. I coached cross country at St. Edward's for 9 years. And her school was thrilled to have her. She couldn't run because of her condition. She'd have a scholarship to college. Now she dances, and she's going to have to quit that if she gets any worse. She's already missed a lot of school right now because of this condition. I'm very concerned. That's as a parent. But as a homeowner and as the president, I went door to door Sunday with Travis Danker, and we hit probably close to 100 homes. Out of those, 90% that answered said they do not want this asphalt plant. The others, there wasn't a parent home, or a few of them said we'd like to look at the information, but not one said no. So we also didn't get this information. The signs are on curvy road, where it's curved and dangerous, and there's green brush right in front of it. In order to stop, you risk getting hit by a car. It's a winding road, very treacherous. We've had signs up there zoning for 20 years trying to do something. I wasn't notified. My treasurer went to the last meeting, and he asked Dwayne Dominy if he notified me. He didn't, or our association. He notified a couple within whatever the 200 feet or whatever the minimum is, and he asked him to do it, and he said he would. He'd notify all of the residents in the Piccadilly Square Homeowners Association. He never did that. It took somebody that's handicapped, lives outside of our neighborhood, to pay somebody to devise a flyer and pay somebody to go to Kinko's and have a runner deliver this to 400 homes. And I found a gold notice on my door, less than 2 weeks ago? This has already been voted on. I didn't know anything about it. It's pretty sly, and I'm definitely against it. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening, council members and the vice mayor. I'm Dr. Nodeko. I'm a pediatrician, and I live at 413 Hampstead South. I've been living there for 19 years, and I've been practicing pediatrics for 22 years. I've taken care of children with asthma. And, it really boggled my mind when I first found out that they're going to put an asphalt plant in our neighborhood. I called the councilman. I said, this is a bad idea. How could you put an asphalt plant in a residential neighborhood? When we talk to parents of kids with asthma, we tell them, avoid smoking, avoid irritants. Some of you have children at home. Some of you have grandchildren and elderly neighbors. Will you put your child near an asphalt plant? It doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. These children will continue having wheezing, shortness of breath, irritation of their nose. They will be sneezing. I've lived there. I have chronic allergies. I take Allegra every day. I didn't know there was an asphalt plant close by there. I didn't know that was a rock quarry, but every summer when I open my windows, right, it will be caked with dust from Vulcan. And I told the councilman, this is a bad idea. I've spoken to other doctors. In fact, American Academy of Pediatrics, they won't let you put a child close to an asphalt plant. I have some documentation from Environmental Health in Illinois. They said asphalt, the fumes, they are very dangerous to children. So regardless of what happens, I know Mr. White is going to tell me the emission level is low, but you don't put a child, regardless of the emission level, you don't put them close to an asphalt plant. It is wrong. And those are residential homes. Those are families that are growing, 2 family members, 3 family members. There are schools in that neighborhood. Buses constantly ride on Franklin Limestone Road every single day. Imagine them breathing that asphalt fumes. It has volatile organic compounds. It has nitrogen oxide. It has sulfur. It has carbon monoxide in it. When you put all of that together, it's dangerous for our children. And I recommend that you vote no. Why? If we change the zoning, it creates a bad precedence for other plants to come in and set up bases on Franklin Limestone Road. It's dangerous for our children. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Owens. I'm a resident, 6-year resident at 700 Leadenhall Court, which is right off of the proposed area. I have just a couple of concerns. First off, the asphalt fumes that we know to come are known toxins. There are hazardous pollutants in those toxins, such as formaldehyde, which we know may cause cancer, coughing, wheezing, liver damage, skin irritation, etc. I know that they're all considered to be at an acceptable risk, but when is that ever a risk that anyone's willing to take? Secondly, looking at the loss of property value that most everyone has mentioned, I read a study done in North Carolina where an asphalt plant was placed. The study was conducted by the Blue Ridge Environmental League, and they found that there was a 56% decrease in property value because of the presence of a nearby plant. Well, when you do that and you multiply that times 2 plants, plus the waste industry that's nearby and all the other industrial areas that are there, it doesn't look so good for the homeowners. Frankly, the people who want to pass this don't live in our community and they don't understand our concerns. I live in a residential area and I would like to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. My name is Karen Myers. I live at 145 Pepper Ridge Circle, and I would ask you to vote against this proposal. First of all, the road issues. The road on Franklin Limestone has had to been repaved twice because of heavy truck traffic. And now you're saying that you're going to add 175 more trucks a day? Come on. We're going to have holes. You'll have to get a boat for us to come across. The other thing is wildlife. I hate to mention this because I'm very concerned about hunters, but there's a small group of deer that vegetate on both sides of Franklin Limestone. Once you put in that asphalt, they'll have no place to go. They'll be roadkill. The other thing is the creek. You can say all you want about they're going to take care of it, but time and time again it's been proved that asphalt runoff has caused serious damage to any vegetation and wildlife that is in the creeks. Third, that's a floodplain. What happens when it floods again? Lord knows we don't want another one, but we haven't taken any precautions to prepare that area for if it happens again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joe Armstrong. I live at 4620 Billingsgate Road. Been there 18 years. I knew the rock quarry was there when I bought, but I didn't know asphalt plants were behind me. You've heard everything about the roads, the trucks, the pollution. My wife only has 28% lung capacity. She's on oxygen 24/7. Never considered that the asphalt plants may or may not have anything to do with it. That's something we'll check on now. But we just, breathing and all the pollutants and everything that goes along with it, I really just don't think we need any more on Franklin Limestone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and I'm J. Daniel Vanoy, and I live at 508 Eversholt Court, and I'm that treasurer that went to that last meeting. And I did speak with Dwayne Dominy, and I ditto just about every word that has been spoken at this podium thus far. And I'd just like to say that I voted for Dwayne Dominy to stand up for this community in times like this and to represent us for our best good. And I'd just like you all to consider that as we vote for our councilman, we want that councilman to in turn stand up for the constituents that he represents. And I think he's a great guy. I think he's got a lot going for him, but we feel like we've been abandoned on this project. And so I would wish that you would vote no because of all these things that you've already heard. We don't need to be redundant and repeat, but this is a very serious concern for all of our homeowners. We have nearly 600 homes in our community, in our association, and every one of them are very concerned about this plant moving in. Now, I know you can bring the big boys in and they can represent all of the different aspects of it, but none of that really has been proven or none of those things have been tested, and we haven't received any factual evidence of any of these things that have been said for it. And so we're all concerned, and we feel like if it doesn't, if it doesn't go through, at least we give us some time to think further about it. I don't think you need to push this through tonight, and we're all very, very concerned about it. Thank you for the opportunity to stand here and speak to each of you, and think of it as if your home was in that area and your family and children were living there, and this was coming into your backyard. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Walisha Perdue. I live at 512 Evershort Court. I'm speaking for the parents that trust me and 3 more daycare homes in this area where this plant is going to be put. There's a requirement for these kids to be outside at a certain period of time, and this is what they're going to have to smell and take in while they're outside at a facility that their parents are paying for them to go to school and be in a safe environment. So that is my only income right now, is my daycare home, and there's 3 in that area. And you think about it, if you brought your child to my daycare and what they would have to put up with and smell and take in while they're at my home. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Juan Reina. I live in 820 Bishopsgate Road. I have been living in the neighborhood for 22 years. And about 8 years ago, I started my own business. I have 2 properties in the neighborhood. And too many things the neighbors have been telling here. But I would like to bring something else. We have enough with the plant that we have there, with the blasting. We have dust everywhere in the neighborhood. Matter of fact, while I was rehabbing a property there with brand new ceramic tiles, nobody stepped on them. They broke down about 3 meters without any use, just because we have the actual plant. If we have another one, it will be worse. For whatever thing the people have been telling here, health, traffic, and many other things, I think we have enough with one. Could you please don't approve that one? We have enough. Thanks for the opportunity to express whatever thing I'm telling, but I'm against the new plant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Mark Elmore, and my address is 1909 Lebanon Pike, my office address, and I represent Piccadilly Homeowners Association. Now, what you all have heard, I guess I'm maybe the last one concluding, but what you've heard tonight is the interest of business that wants to develop further development of this area versus the residents that have lived there. And some of these residents, if you heard, are going to be there to stay. They can't leave. Some of them fighting foreclosure, some of them fighting in their homes to keep their children healthy. The same wishes and dreams that you have at your residence. The only difference is you don't have an asphalt plant that wants to be constructed, a new one in your area. Now, nothing against my colleague or his client, but bigger and newer doesn't necessarily mean better. Because if you're bigger and newer, you're going to try to make your profit deeper and manufacture more and more. And so the emission of toxins that take place are not going to lessen, they're going to increase. You're going to have more traffic on the road. There's been no conclusive study that these toxins do not affect children at play and people, families in their homes. So if you think that's a figment of my imagination, the young lady that referred to the study, I read the same study in Avery County, North Carolina. They were fighting an asphalt plant from coming in. What they found with their tax authority is just not only the decrease in the value of their homes went down $400,000 for those homes that were located in a close proximity to the asphalt plant. The other homes weren't affected. So if it's preposterous to think that on that narrow road, there's not going to be an increase of traffic, which is going to make it a more dangerous condition. And what's the value of these residents and their children, of their lives that are going to be traveling on that road and competing for the roadway with these trucks? They're going to be breathing these fumes. You know, the shutdown of one doesn't necessarily applaud the rise of a new plant. These folks ask you to vote no. They're the residents of your community. And I wish I could come here with stunning numbers to convince you, but I'll tell you, if they were going to put it in my backyard, I'd be furious. And there's no justification for children that play in their yards to have to breathe toxins and have to worry about being sick because of an asphalt plant or a rock quarry or whatever. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marlasia Hewitt, and I do not want the asphalt plant to be planted in my neighborhood because I like to go outside and play, and I use that Franklin Limestone Road every day when I go to school and on the weekends. And I like to have my window down because I like to feel the air, and I don't want to have to breathe all those toxic fumes and get risk of cancer or any type of disease. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kate Hoey. I am also a pediatrician. I live in a neighborhood very close to this area. My husband is a musician. We were thrilled that we were able to buy a house. Our property values have dropped already $15,000. When we moved in, we realized we have earthquakes every week from the existing quarries that are already in the area. That's fine. We knew they existed. There are children, probably 20 to 30 kids playing outside on our street every single day. I take care of kids with asthma. I know that toxins in the environment and dirty air affect them. I spend nights in the emergency room trying to keep them from going to the ICU. I think that this is very sad that our representative hasn't stood up to keep this from coming into our neighborhood. And I hope that you guys will think about that. We have enough going on in our neighborhood already. We don't need another asphalt plant. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to thank all those that came out tonight for and against. I encourage them to communicate with me so that they get regular updates. I do that on a regular basis, and I've been communicating with residents across the district on this issue since December. In fact, sent emails to the HOA president of Piccadilly Homeowner Association. She's still on my list. I don't know if she reads them or not, but she's still on my list to receive those. I want to let folks know my home is 3,000 feet from this proposed site, and I'm not committed to it as of right now. What I am committed to is the process of hearing the concerns, and I've recorded the concerns tonight, and I've written down a bunch of them, and I'm going to follow up on those as I have been doing since the beginning of this. John, would you for a minute clarify the process that we use to get stuff to committees when there's a public hearing involved?
Zoning bills are amendable on third reading, so for that reason, the council holds the public hearing. The bills are then referred to the Planning and Zoning Committee after the public hearing, so they can be considered before the bills are considered by the council on third reading.
So if this is passed tonight, it does not mean it goes into place. It just means we're able to discuss it as a body.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. There's a couple of concerns that the residents have brought up. Blasting. The current applicant has agreed to 1,000-foot pre-blast survey of every home within 1,000 foot of the blast location. They've also agreed to do 10 beyond that. The current zoning, which was approved in 2004, does not have that requirement. Regarding blasting, the rock quarry will continue to blast. I will not be able to stop that. They've operated for 50 years. I can't stop that. I wish I could, but I can't. The traffic issue, The initial investigation on traffic is the current zoning would generate 1,598 as was testified by the attorney. That's 365 days a year. The proposal would generate 90, 70 trucks, 20 autos in and out. The autos can go anywhere, but the 70 trucks have to go towards Antioch Pike. And that's only during the operation of the plant, which only operates about 8 months out of the year, because the next issue that has been brought up is the smells or aromas and the pollution. One of the things that I'm trying to do, and I've not been able to do yet, is visit an operational facility that is state-of-the-art to see what those smells are, to see what those pollution output is. I do have some data from Georgetown University that was published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine that I have reviewed that shows there is not a correlation between cancer or other non-malignant lung disease in association with asphalt workers in both production of asphalt shingles or asphalt installation with roads or roofing. But I'm doing more research on that. But I am going to go visit, and this will not be moved on third reading, I can assure you, until I've had the opportunity to visit a state-of-the-art facility to see what the actual impact is to the community. In the process to this point, I visited a new plant in Shelbyville and spoke to residents in the area, including a principal of a high school that's located 2,000 feet from that operational plant. It's been there for 3 years. He signed a petition opposing the installation of the plant because his house was 2,000 feet on the opposite side of the plant than the high school is. And when I went in to talk to him, he said, it's not operational. I signed the petition against it. And I said, well, it has been operational. It's been there for 3 years. He drives within 1,000 feet of it every single day going to school, and he's not noticed the impact. That's preliminary. I haven't got all the research done, but I'm going to continue to investigate. I appreciate the input. I'm going to try to do that. And again, I ask folks to sign up to get those newsletters. And I ask for your approval on this so we can move it to committee so we can discuss this in full before we go to third reading.
Is there a second? Okay. Councilman, hang on. Councilman Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think the people have spoken. I'm going to vote no. I don't think you can amend a plant. We're either going to have a plant or not have a plant. And so I'm voting no against this. That is not allowed. You will have to leave the chamber if that continues. I think we've heard from the people of that neighborhood. I think we've gotten the emails after hearing both sides today. I'm going to vote no.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yeah, I stand with my colleague. I've got a lot of concerns about this from just hearing from the neighbors. John, what can we do? Can we have another public hearing? What can we do to make sure the citizens get, can come tell us again, their feelings after, any changes or amendments may be made to this? Can they have another second bite at the apple here?
Under the council rules, the council by a 2/3 vote, 27 votes, can vote to hold a public hearing at either the meeting where that bill is being considered or at the next meeting. So that is a possibility in the future.
Okay, so can we make a motion tonight on this to have another public hearing?
Yes, I mean, technically a motion could be made for a public hearing. Now that would be prior to it being considered by the committee, but that is a possibility, yes.
Well, I don't know about the rest of my colleagues, but from hearing the people we heard tonight, I'm all for it going to our committee system, us discussing committee, but it sounds like with the concerns we heard tonight, I really want to hear from the public again. I'll sit down and not make that motion at this point, but I'm asking my colleagues, if one of you feels the same way, I'll be quick to second your motion. So thank you.
Councilman, I just want to say that could also be done on third reading after it's gone through the committee process to have a public hearing then. Councilman Davis, Anthony.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. As an environmentalist, it just doesn't really pass the smell test to me. Pun absolutely intended on that. It just, based on what we're hearing tonight, I don't think it feels right, and I think the people have spoken, as my colleague said. I don't think an extra committee meeting is going to convince me, but probably what I'd need is some sort of an environmental report in the positive light, not just we don't think it's going to harm people, but some sort of positive environmental report saying it's not going to harm anything, and here's why, and here's the data to support that. And that's what I need, so I'm voting no tonight. Thanks.
Councilmember Stanley.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to let everyone know that there is a quarry site in District 14. I've attempted to have that site closed, but I will say that the General Assembly granted a permit to allow that public site, that quarry site, to be operated in that industrial area of Central Pike. I am appreciative of the councilman that represents this asphalt site, but there are a number of industrial sites that I've heard concerns from the resident citizens of this area, and I'm very appreciative of the adverse impacts that these industrial sites can have on the health as well as the money that these people have invested in their properties. So I would like to see this thing go through the committee. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Committee. I will be very appreciative of any information that the sponsor can give this committee at this time. But I will let everyone know in this council and in the audience that I will not support another industrial site in an urban community like Davidson County, because the quarry site in District 14 has an adverse impact on a lot of neighboring residential subdivisions that are located in close proximity. So I don't think we need another industrial site in Davidson County. Thank you.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As your representative on the Planning Commission, I wanted to just give you some basis for understanding the vote at the Planning Commission, which was unanimous to approve this. We went through a fairly lengthy discussion when this was considered. There were individuals who spoke on both sides of the issue who came before the Commission. The site has some topographic characteristics that basically separate it, or there are natural barriers that separate this area from the existing areas. It was mentioned earlier about some of the topography. The owner of this plant now leases the property where the plant currently is. The property that was rezoned, he owns. So we have an owner-operator that is closing an existing old facility and replacing it with a new facility with current technology on his own property. So he's redeveloping his own land. The site, it was mentioned about the blasting was part of our discussion. This site, regardless of what is developed there, will require some preliminary blasting in order for anything to take place, whether it's apartments or homes or a new facility or whatever. There has to be some site preparation that requires a degree of blasting on the front end. And as Councilman Dominy stated, the concessions to do the pre-blast survey 1,000+ feet beyond is a considerable concession beyond that which is required, which is about a third of that distance. One of the biggest things that weighed on my decision to vote in favor of this at the Commission was the fact that if we disapproved, that was no assurance that this community was going to have anything less than they already have. They have an existing asphalt plant. It's located close to another existing asphalt plant. Either way, they're going to have two asphalt plants. The Planning Commission was not misled about the location of it. When we were discussing this, we looked at a site plan, a plot of the area that showed where the adjacent neighborhoods and businesses were. And so we were fully aware that this plant is going to be located across the road from the existing plant. And as we talked through this process, it seemed as a consensus that this was an existing situation that was not going to be made worse. And in all probability, this new plant will provide less of some of the concerns that people have said that they currently deal with. So just to give you some benefit of the thought process that the Planning Commission went through for what it's worth.
Councilman Dominy.
Thank you. I just wanted to address the fact that there has been and will be, there's been requested and will be a environmental impact study done on the property and the environmental impacts to the community. That is in the process now, and the applicant has agreed to do that. And I look forward to the discussion in the committee. And again, I renew my motion. Councilmember
Bedney.
Yeah, thank you. I have one question. If I understand correctly, the asphalt plant is moving to a new location, right? What's going to happen with the old location? It's still zone industrial, right?
One of the planning staff, they had discussed that at the Planning Commission meeting, I believe, as to what can happen. I think the zoning has changed and would not be permitted at the current site if it closes down, but I'm not positive on that.
Well, the current site, I think the current site's also zoned industrial. It's AR2A. The existing asphalt plant technically would be non-conforming. If they don't, I mean, they could take it down, but presumably it'd be a non-conforming use and something else could go on. Another one could go on there. Yeah.
So basically we're increasing the density of industrial in that part of the city.
Sorry, Rick.
I just want to clarify that the current owner of the plant that's being closed, which is a plant up on Eazell Road, has indicated their intention is to close the plant. And part of the condition of this, I think the SP now, is that they close the plant. That would not preclude, all I wanted to make clear, that would not preclude somebody else from coming back in and owning it as far as I know, or opening it as far as I know.
So just to be certain, the old site will remain zone industrial?
The old site, it's AR2A. It currently has a quarry and 2 asphalt plants on that property. So both of those, I mean, it's AR2A. This plant that closes would then be a non-conforming plant, but it's subject to the protections of the state law under non-conforming uses.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else wishing to speak, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. We will need a machine vote. Madam Clerk, please close the machines.
22 aye, 15 no, 1 abstention.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-104, changes 0.91 acres from R6 to CS District for properties located at 200, 202, 204, and 206 Ocola Avenue. Councilmember Baker.
Madam Vice Mayor, I'd move to defer this bill indefinitely with a brief comment.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman.
The applicant has decided to rezone this property as MUL instead of CS, which will require a new bill. And the public hearing for the new bill will be held at the first council meeting in May. And I'll be sending out letters to hold a community meeting before that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for indefinite deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-105 makes provisions to 2.78 acres of a neighborhood landmark overlay district for property located at 209 Dania Crest Drive, zoned RS15. Councilmember Stanley.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Anyone in support wishing to speak, please come to the lectern.
Thank you, members of the council. Thank you, members of the council. I'm Roy Dale. I reside at 1657 Stokely Lane in the Fighting District number 11. And I represent the applicant on this proposal. I didn't think I was going to have to speak tonight. We've had a community meeting, have actually had 2 community meetings, and I think that generally the community is in support of this, and I'm sure that Councilman Stanley will convey that. He's been very good. We've had a really good input from the community, and the councilman's been very responsive too. But in essence, this is a house that's a historic structure. The parcel itself is probably as important as the house. It's in the middle of a community, and it needs to be preserved. Basically, this zoning bill preserves that house and preserves the property to the extent that it could not be developed once this overlay is placed on it. And so I'm sure Councilman Stanley will express all that to you, but I'm here in support of it and hope that you'll take the lead of Councilman Stanley. Thank you.
Anyone in opposition wishing to speak, please come to the lectern.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Debbie Manley, and I represent my family that lives at 200 Jennery Court, which is at the back side of this property. Now, when my family moved into this residential area, we thought that's what we were doing, was moving into a residential area. Now, my mother, on purchasing this home, moved from an area that she couldn't be comfortable in, that she was afraid of. And when she moved into this area with these wonderful trees and these great neighborhoods, these people that walk around and they speak, they're friendly, there's a school there, she was finally at home. And the next thing we find out is a man has bought this house to put a business in it. Now, would you want to move into a residential area that you thought was going to be a residential area and have your home, and the next thing you find out, somebody's going to buy this house and make a business out of it? And that's what's happened. So one of our concerns is the fact that I'm not sure all the neighbors are happy about this. The ones I've talked to are not. And my concerns are, if you open it up to him, then what's going to keep it from being other things? And I've seen this happen. And I don't want it to happen to my mother's dream home. You know, I don't want it to happen to the place that her great-grandkids, my grandchildren, come and play, because there's pine trees and big open spaces and places that they can walk, and the traffic is basically people who are there to see their families, and they drive slow and they take care of the neighborhood. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Stanley.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Mayor. I'd just like to move approval with a brief explanation, if I could.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman.
I think it's important that the people of Stanford Estates understand that they are one subdivision on the entire north side of Lebanon Pike, from Guil Court down to the Stones River. And that the Planning Commission has recommended that site be maintained as residential and undeveloped agricultural. I was going to move for this because the individual that purchased the home, he approached me. And but he's I respect his opinion, but he wanted me to rezone that property commercial. I told him, of course, the courts, they ordered a few years ago, they ordered an urban area like Metro Nashville, spot zoning to be illegal. We cannot spot zone. So if I was to rezone a piece of property in the middle of this subdivision, commercial, then the rest of Lebanon Pike would have to go commercial in opposition to the recommendation set forth by the Planning Commission. And I think it's important, too, that this neighborhood landmark overlay is going to recommend that this property be the base zoning RS-15 be maintained. It is still going to be a residential piece of property. I will say that the developer or the owner of the property has mentioned to me that if he's unable to operate his type of public firm, public communications firm, he's going to operate from there. It's going to have no clients. It's only going to have a spot for 10 cars, and it has certain, there is a plan that's been adopted with this neighborhood landmark overlay that's going to restrict how this person can and cannot use this property. I will say that this property, when I spoke with the Metro Historical Commission, they had inspectors go out there and inspect the site. And they notified me that the site is a 4,200 square foot house that was built in 1950. It was built by the Stanford family, who had a historical outlook on the Donaldson Hermitage community in general. They said that this property is historical in nature. I know I've lived in that subdivision my entire life. I've seen the benefit of having this 4,200 square foot home on 2.78 acres maintained. It's provided stability to this neighborhood, but it is tract A. There are 3 tracts in this subdivision. This subdivision still has private covenants that govern the subdivision except those 3 tracts. Tract A, which is the Stanford house up for neighborhood landmark overlay, Tract B, and Tract C, which front Lebanon Pike. They are not governed by the covenants. The rest of the covenants they govern all of the other parcels in our subdivision. So there is not going to be any commercial expansion into our subdivision. I will let everyone know that in 2002, I was able to get past a neighborhood landmark overlay on a piece of property just around the corner from this home itself. And it now houses Kennedy and Brown law offices, but it's maintained as RS-10. It's an RS-10 that operates a legal office out of that home. And there has been no alterations to that home. In fact, that neighborhood landmark overlay property has enhanced the value of the neighboring properties that it is a part. I think that this Stanford house, by maintaining this, it is going to enhance the value of the homes in Stanford Estates. So I ask your approval of this at this time. And once more, if anyone has any questions, any council members or anyone in the community, if they have any questions, please contact me and I'll be more than happy to explain the situation. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. I've been asked to announce for anyone that is watching Channel 3 right now, expecting to get the election results, that they will start airing immediately after the council meeting concludes. BL 2012-106 changes 8.9 acres from R10 to SP zoning for property located at 2158 Antioch Pike to permit an assisted living and/or nursing facility. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Anyone in support wishing to speak, please come to the lectern.
Vice Mayor, neighbors, members of the council, my name is Tom White. I represent the applicant. I live at 36 Old Club Court. One more time, I'd like to thank Councilman Dominy, who gave a great deal of his time in neighborhood meetings and in meetings with the staff of the planning department, basically to figure out what this ultimate proposal would be. Again, there were not just a number of meetings with the neighbors, but a significant number of meetings with the staff of the planning department. As a result of those meetings, the following things occurred. There was a significant density decrease. The road entrance to the property was significantly changed. There was earlier a proposal for apartments, which was changed strictly to allow assisted living in a nursing home. The difference, obviously, is there's basically no impact on the school system whatsoever with the current proposal, whereas the apartment in previous use had a significant impact. At the neighborhood meetings, there ended up being a great deal of support as this matter morphed forward from apartments to assisted living. And at the last meeting, when the Planning Commission approved this matter, which they did on a vote of 8-1, the most significant thing that was apparent, I think, to the members of the Planning Commission was that most of the people in the neighborhood realized they didn't have facilities like this in close proximity, wanted them in their neighborhood, and that was why the overwhelming number of people that came to the Planning Commission were supportive and why it was approved 8-1. We appreciate your courtesies and ask you to approve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to tell you, I lived in Antioch for over 20 years. My parents passed away here.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Les Capama at 4801 Payne Road, Antioch, Tennessee.
Thank you.
And what I was trying to tell you is that, you know, I've had to take her to a nursing home, assistant care. And I had to go all the way to the north side of Nashville. I'd go work 40 hours, drive a couple. I have 10 hours in, then I wouldn't have hardly any time to go see her. I'm getting old. There's a lot of people getting old, and the same problems happen with a lot of our community there. We need something close in our area. At that time, I went to assisted care over on Dixon Road, and traffic was bad, didn't know the location. She wasn't comfortable there. But the whole thing of it is, that's the only place we could find. So this is a very good opportunity, you know, because I know sooner or later I might need assisted care. You know, as we get old, we need these things. And I've lost 2 family members. Both of them had to go in for the last few months of their life into this. And it really impacted me because I couldn't visit them or take care of them the way I thought, and it hurt me emotionally because I couldn't do what I thought I should do. And this assisted care is perfect location, perfect area. It'll really serve us good, and there's no impact on our community. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
I'm Danny Bradbury, and I live at 1004 Oak Ridge Court in Antioch. I live less than 3/4 of a mile from this area proposed for the development. 2 reasons I'm for this project. One reason would be to clean up the property, to make the property look better than it does now, being all grown up. The functionability of the assisted living facility being built on this property would make it convenient for me. My parents are getting on up in age. They're a couple of years from being 80 years old, both of them. And if this facility was there and I had to utilize this facility to put my parents there, I'm only around the corner from the facility and could be there to help them with any problem they might have. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition wishing to speak, please come to the lectern. State your name and address.
My name is Mike Murrian, residing at 4928 Oak Barrel Drive. I'm in opposition to this. I'd like to remind council that you people are here to serve the public. You're here to do a service to the public interest. You're here to follow your own staff recommendations that denies the rights of people in order to zone whatever they want in an area where it doesn't belong. What you've heard today, maybe it doesn't impact some of these people's communities. Well, it impacts mine. It's right beside me. They're proposing a 3-story building. This is a commercial building. SP zoning is a travesty, an absolute travesty that we allow this to happen in residential areas. You're hiding behind the SP zoning so that you can put whatever you want wherever you want it. And it's time that it stopped. I mean, if a little 8-year-old kid can get up here and tell you guys that it affects her health, and you guys still approve it, there is a disconnect. There is a strong disconnect between you and the people that you are supposed to serve. Now, while 103 had nothing to do with me, I still live in Antioch, 106 does. This is wrong for the community. It is wrong for the people that live here, and I ask that 106 be disapproved, that you guys vote no, because this is a residential area that they're trying to put a commercial zoned building in. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second.
We've held 3 different community meetings beginning as far back as October to discuss this. There was a number of concerns in the area when it was originally proposed to put apartments on that location. All those have been removed. The number of beds or dwelling units within the structure has been reduced down to 270, which according to traffic would generate fewer road trips than what would be zoned there with residential development. It backs up to commercial zone on Murfreesboro Road, and this creates a nice transition from the commercial zone into the residential and provides a need based on residents' input for campaigns. They wanted assisted living and nursing homes in the area, so ask for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-107, amends the Metro Code to require placement of panels in a multi-tenant signs to be consistent with other signage on the property. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Neighbors. I move to defer this bill to the May public hearing with a brief comment.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Johnson.
The purpose of this deferral is to work with Attorney Cooper to come up with an amendment or an alternative bill to address the enforcement issues associated with replacement signs in multi-tenant developments that are out of character with the other signs within the development. Thank you.
All in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2012-109, amends the Metro Code to add requirements to the conversion of non-conforming static billboards to tri-face billboards. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Neighbors. I'd like to move to defer by rule to the May public meeting.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at items on our consent agenda. RS 2012-173 recognizes Keep America Beautiful, Great American Cleanup, and designating March, April, and May 2012 as Great American Cleanup Months in the Metro Nashville and Davidson County. RS 2012-174 recognizes and congratulates Metro Information Technology Services for its efforts leading Metro government being named the top 3 digital city government. Councilmember Stein.
Rules Committee voted to approve both resolutions, 10 for, none against, and if it's appropriate, I would move approval of the consent agenda at this time.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2012-175, approves the election of certain notaries public for Davidson County. Councilmember Stein.
The Rules Committee voted to recommend 10 for, none against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Is there a motion for their approval? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.